Today's Writing Academy is going to focus on the components of a paragraph. When you're writing an essay, it's important to stay organized. And when you are an organized writer, you ensure that the reader can clearly follow your format. Today, we're going to focus on important organizational elements that will help make you a more effective writer of essays. While I talk about these, I would like you to take notes below, and your notes will appear where all of the yellow parts are. So I just wanted to give you an overview really quick to let you know that we're going to be talking about what a main claim is, a subclaim, and we've already gone over evidence sentences and analysis, but I would like to review with you those, and then a concluding sentence. So starting at the top, the main claim has been called many things, depending on the class that you're in. The main claim can also be referred to as a thesis, a premise, or an argument. A thesis, a premise, or an argument. So you may have been in another class where they said, okay, write a thesis. If you use the word main claim, it is also a word that's often used in science. It's a word that's often used, main claim is a term often used also in sociology classes and other humanities classes like history. And so we'd like you to know that a main claim is also called a thesis or a premise or an argument. So if a teacher asks you to write an argument or make an argument, or asks you to what your main premise is or what your main thesis is, they're all talking about the main claim. The main claim has three parts: the subject that you're talking about, the opinion that you want to come across to your audience, as well as reasons or topics why that opinion happens to be true. The reason that it's so important and at the top of our notes today is that your main claim is the heart of your essay. It is actually the most important sentence in the entire essay. Really, your main claim is your point. What point do you want to get across? That's what your main claim is. Okay, so it's the heart of your essay, the most important sentence in the entire essay, and it's your main point. So it's important to have this sentence in argumentative writing, because without it, the writer does not have a purpose. So purpose and point are the same kind of an idea. You're wanting to make sure that your purpose is clear, your point is clear, and that we understand exactly where you are headed when we are reading your essay. The main claim is a statement about the way things are or ought to be. So it's a statement about the way things are or ought to be. Now, when you make that statement, you are actually providing your opinion, but you don't actually have to give your opinion by using the word I. You can just make a statement as if you are the authority figure to know what your main point is, okay, what your purpose is. Also, the main claim also always belongs in the introductory paragraph. So in an essay, when you write your main claim, you have all of your points, you have your opinion and the subject. You also have to make sure to include the author's name if you are writing about literature like we are for Of Mice and Men, and you also need to include the title of the text. When you do that, then your writer will know exactly what your whole essay is going to be about and what you'll be referencing all the way throughout. Something important for you to know is that the main claim is always the very, very last sentence in the introductory paragraph. I even encourage my AP Lang students to do this, making sure that that sentence is the last sentence in the paragraph. What that does is it ensures to your reader that that's the most important point, and it's the part that's sort of left ringing in their ears as they go on to your first body paragraph. So that's the main claim. Now, in your body paragraph, you're going to have different parts. So notice the main claim is one color in blue, but in the main body paragraphs, you're always going to have a subclaim. You're going to have at least two evidence sentences. You're going to have analysis, and you'll have about two evidence sentences or two sentences of analysis for every evidence sentence, and you will also have a concluding sentence. So let's go over those parts that will be included in each of your body paragraphs. Let's start with the subclaim. In other classes before, you might have also called the subclaim a topic sentence, you might have called it a supporting argument, or you might have called it a body thesis. All of those are correct, and they are all synonymous to the idea of subclaim. Sometimes I'm going to refer to the subclaim as simply the SC. And we do this throughout our whole time at Steele Canyon, so SC is really your subclaim. And in your subclaim, you're going to have subject, opinion, and the key reasons or points that you want to make in that particular body paragraph. For the subclaim, that one is always the first sentence of the body paragraph. And what it does is it provides some direction to the reader so the reader knows where you're headed when you're writing your body paragraph. It basically tells what your paragraph is about. So it makes it a little easier again for your reader to follow along. It also should always support the main idea in your essay. So whatever your main claim was up here, that you have what your point is, you want to make sure that your subclaim also supports that main idea that you have in your essay. Also, what it will do is it will refer to the evidence you will cover. You won't specifically say what that evidence is, but let's say you have an example about Carly's wife and you have another example about Crooks, then you'll refer to those characters probably in your subclaim to help us understand where you will be headed. Now the subclaim, you will always have, there will always be 2 subclaims per essay, one per body paragraph, if you're writing a 4-paragraph essay. So basically if it's a 5-paragraph essay, you're going to have 3 subclaims because you'll have one for each body paragraph. So I wanted to point that out to you as we move forward, and I'll remind you of that later on as well. Okay, so after you have your subclaim, the next thing you're going to do is write an evidence sentence. We already have worked on evidence sentences, but other people sometimes call evidence sentences something else. Examples, or proof of whatever it is that you're claiming, or facts that prove whatever it is that you're claiming. So that evidence needs to be related to whatever you've said in your subclaim. Now we already know that an evidence sentence has a transition, contextual lead-in, text evidence, and citation. We've been practicing this and we're getting better at it. Now basically an evidence sentence is a piece of evidence that supports your subclaim and it also supports your main claim. You want it to do both because you, just like the subclaim supports the main claim, your evidence should support both of them as well. What you want to think about is what are the best moments I could possibly choose to prove what I'm trying to get across. So those are the pieces of evidence you want to pick. And I want you to write vividly. Please clearly describe what's happening so the reader can understand. And the best way you can do that is to provide some kind of context. You know, your contextual lead-in, which is the area of growth for many of you, it is essential that you continue to work on and develop your contextual lead-in. If you give the who, what, when, and where of what's happening, then it helps people understand what the text evidence is that you are sharing, and it helps you to make your main claim, your subclaim, very clear. Now, in each body paragraph, the minimum number of evidence sentences that you will use is 2. Each body paragraph should have at least 2 evidence sentences, but oftentimes there will be 3. The idea is what is the evidence that needs to support my subclaim? It's sort of like the facts, the proof, the examples you are giving in order to make that happen. Next, we're going to go on to the analysis. The analysis, which we have been learning about recently, includes inference, it includes opinion, and it includes commentary. So these are other things that people will often say. They'll say, hey, provide some commentary on your evidence sentence and explain how that evidence sentence supports your subclaim. Okay? We have been using the words inference and opinion in order to talk about analysis. And whenever you need to figure out what kind of inference or opinion is being required, in analysis, you've got to go back to the prompt, whatever prompt you've been given, and you have to look for the action words. Okay? What that means is, if the prompt is telling you to analyze something, then that's what you should be doing in your analysis. Okay, so you're going to ask yourself, what is the prompt asking me to accomplish? And then you will look for those action words up here, And you'll say, oh, it's asking me to clarify. It's asking me to define. It's asking me to evaluate. Whatever those action words are in your prompt, and they always exist, they tell you what it is you're supposed to write for your analysis. And I promise I will show you examples of this after the note-taking session that we're doing today. Basically, the idea is once you know what those are, then you can attack each part of the prompt and in the analysis section. You can answer it in the analysis section. We have already gone over that the A1 asks you to make an inference about the action in the text evidence, and A2 provides an opinion and explains how the text evidence proves the claim. So, for every evidence sentence you should have at least 2 sentences of analysis. We want a balance where your thinking and your explanation is actually longer than your evidence. So your evidence gives the facts that are provided in the book, but then your analysis explains how that is relevant and how it answers the prompt that has been asked. At the very end of your paragraph, your body paragraph, you will always have a concluding sentence. This is also called a transition sentence, a reinstatement sentence, or a summary sentence. And it includes a subject, opinion, and reasons and key evidence. What a lot of people do is they restate whatever the subclaim was in their own words, and they wrap up the paragraph in some way. If it's your first body paragraph, it has to include a transition into the next body paragraph, where you reference whatever you've talked about above, and then you preview what you're going to talk about in the next body paragraph. So that's it for all the parts of the body paragraph and the definitions. So I want you to understand what a main claim is. This belongs in the introductory paragraph on its own. Then you have the subclaim. Then you have your evidence sentence. Then you have your analysis, usually 2 sentences long. Then probably you'll have another evidence sentence and 2 sentences of analysis. And then you will wrap up with your concluding sentence.